We're going to change pace a little now, and we're going to look at lecture capture, how it's being run at the University of Nottingham, and where it's going. And so, over to Ian Pearshouse. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Andrew. Yeah, this is where it sort of moves from the innovative, I think, of stuff that Sally was talking about, to the mundane. You saw my title, lecture capture. It is what it is. But we're going to look at where we started, where we are, and where we're going. What I hope is that what I show you on these slides will generate some conversations through the day. As has been said, my name is Ian Pearshouse. I'm currently handing over the ownership of lecture capture to others at the university. My new role is Senior User Experience Designer for Virtual and Physical Learning Spaces. Try and get that on a business card, especially with the title of the group underneath as well. But what Wyn was saying earlier about the transformation and everything that's happening at the university, that's part of my role, is to find out what the user wants, and that's the student and the member of academic staff across all of our systems and services and spaces, and try to get that delivered consistently, and like I say, delivering to what people want to do in spaces, be they physical or virtual, rather than what technology we decide to deliver. So where we started, Sally Hanford. Is Sally in the room now, or is she still hiding? So Sally started with the lecture capture system back in 2008. Hardware was deployed into a small number of lecture theatres. Captures were initiated from the touchscreens in the room. It was an opt-in service. Users were registered as required, courses registered required, and it was integrated into Moodle, so people could readily get to the captures from there. 2008-9, from the stats I'm looking at on the system, there's probably a few more that were created but have now been deleted. We're looking at 107 captures, 234 captures in 2009-10. That was the system as was, basically a single server, a couple of terabytes of storage, a database and a media processor, and that's, like I say, that's where we went. This was also installed into our Malaysia and China campuses, so they also have their own installs. The stats I'm talking about today particularly are looking at our UK stats, our UK campuses, and we've had various upgrades happening over the last couple of weeks, and we're in the middle of upgrades at the moment. China's been upgraded today, Malaysia's upgraded tomorrow, and the UK upgraded on Sunday. But we had to have separate instances, particularly with the firewall issues we have in China, and trying to deliver content into there. We have tri-campus courses running where we have students on all three campuses studying onto one course, and also captures being made on all three campuses again. At the moment, the way that we handle that is we actually hand off content into each of the installs. We don't have a single repository, again, like I say, because of the firewall issues that we can hit. So that's where we are. We're still an opt-in services. We're still an opt-in service, but now all our staff are registered by default. So there's about 7,000 odd staff now registered by default. All our modules are registered by default onto the system. And my colleague at the back, Terry Wilmer, is now responsible for doing all that. So he's got the admin part of the role of doing that every year, and then looking after everything day to day. We've got 300 lecture capture rooms, 22 hardware equipped rooms like this one, where we've got a full camera at the back using the Echo 360 SCHD client and hardware. And we've got 278 software deployed rooms where the capture is done via webcam and mics built into the webcam. So that's where we are now. Yeah, new disks are going in, so by the end of today we should have 10 terabytes of storage instead of the 5.5 that we've got at the moment. That's a live upgrade. I've got my fingers crossed behind the screen. You can't see that at the moment. But yeah, we've now sort of split everything out onto separate VMs. So we've got an Echo system server over on the left, and separate web server browsers, and a couple of media processing, and still the separate database connection. So now we've got all capture started from the PC interface, because if anybody's a member of SCOMS or anything like that, you will see my post on there screaming for help trying to get certain hardware interfaces to work with the new lecture capture firmware from Echo, and basically we couldn't. The hardware manufacturers turned around and said, no, can't do it. Our IP interfaces cannot be controlled via HTML, even though their stats and websites said they could. So everything's now started from the PC, whether it's software interface, whether it's hardware interface. It does make it a little bit more consistent across our estate. We're now capturing approximately 200 events per week. Now that's events, those could be multi-hour, 3-hour lectures, they could be 1-hour lectures, whatever. And our peak views are happening as you would expect pre-exam. They should. So we're looking at an increasing peak viewing figure. So second week into January, peak viewing, we hit 12,632 views onto the content in 1 week, and that's now falling off rapidly because we're actually in exam period, and by the time next week hits, it will fall off to probably the lowest in the year and then rapidly pick up again afterwards. Captures are on the graph beneath that, and you can see again that they're picking up. So last year we captured 2,850 events that are still live on the system, and we're currently running at about 3,000 events. That's probably looking to be about 7,000 events by the time this academic year finishes. Got a couple of other developments going on, which obviously live stream. We're live streaming this today. Hello out there, thank you. And we've got a student feedback video diary booth that we installed into the Students' Union just over a week ago now. MELSIG quote coming up, it's the one that's been used already. It was the advertising campaign that went out by IS and the Students' Union that actually did say, tell us what you want, what you really, really want. That's going to get done to death by the end of today. But it's true, that's what actually went out. We haven't had massive feedback from that video booth yet. We've had a lot of people sort of peering in and trying to decide what the heck is going on in there. We've had a couple of students from Newcastle wander in and tell us that we don't supply enough chocolate bars. We've had a plea for the booth, a charity plea from three students for the booth to go over to QMC, because at the moment it's in the Portland building on University Park. And they don't go to Portland very often, so they came across on a special trip to make a plea for the booth to be moved over there. It's going to be an interesting experiment. There's a touchscreen in there that asks 5 questions that we can change and roll around, and it is literally just sort of one touch, countdown of a few seconds, do the recording, press stop. We have limited it to 10 minutes maximum, just in case anybody does go on a little bit. Or if they forget and just walk out with video in an empty room. Where we're going, I think sort of Wynne mentioned or alluded to this, there is a project to investigate a step change. So rather than being an opt-in service, we'll be an opt-out service. So all lectures will be captured by default globally across all of our campuses. Lots of things going on around that. What defines a lecture, how you opt out, how you don't opt out, and I'll come to some of the viewpoints, shall we say, a little bit later. We've still got 300 plus rooms in the UK, but then we'll be looking at potentially 4,000 events captured per week. I know the big Australian universities are doing about 2,000 per week. Our peak capture rate not worried about that one. 300 megabits into the back of the servers, but potentially 4.5 gigabits of people watching content at any one peak time. And then it's just money. 120 terabytes of storage per year going forward if they decide to go this route. So like I say, that's what we're looking at the moment. So that's sort of the tech stats behind what we're going to be trying to provide. That's what it'll look like. So again, we're splitting more and more and duplicating and teaming servers and uprating the storage. It will still deliver the same type of content if people still choose to deliver what they're delivering at the moment. So why are we going there? Forget the top line, it's this one. Making recorded lectures compulsory where possible. It's a big push by the Students' Union. This was actually somebody applying to the Economic School Educational Rep a couple of years ago. Photos courtesy of Sally, who spotted this one. But it is a big push by the Students' Union, and the university have accepted that they need to do something about this because, like I say, it's seen to be crucial for the student experience. I thank the Students' Union for permission to use a survey that they did in 2014, and any mistakes on these figures are purely down to me and my interpretation of a long paper. So the figures are rounded. There are about 1,400 respondents in total to the survey, and 600 of which actually currently use lecture capture as part of their course. So 80% already use lecture capture as an aid to their study in some way or another. 70% of students use it as an aid to revision within actually 1 month of recording, so not necessarily for an exam, but actually to go back and review things within 1 month. But particularly 88% use it as an actual revision aid at exam time. Like I say, that sort of tallies with the viewing figures that we pulled from the system earlier. Interestingly, 11 to 13%, depending on how the question was worded, were less likely to attend the lecture if they knew it was going to be captured. But then we have some provisos on that as to why that would be. And it's not just the fact that I don't want to get out of bed. It might be other commitments. It might be that they've got sports that they've got to do. They may be in a sports team that things clash. 70% of students that were surveyed believed that they were being hampered by lack of lecture capture facilities. And overall 90% see lecture capture as a benefit to their course. So that's the push. That's why we're sort of being driven down the route to go to try and capture everything. Some of the responses that we're getting do oppose one another, and student responses. Critical for my education, I rely on it for making notes. I have a problem with the language. The lecturer speaks too quickly, too quietly, something of that issue. I can go back, I can review this. And then the completely opposing view of that, and this is from students, why should they be recorded? The lazy can't be bothered to turn up to their lectures. For goodness sake, go to the lecture or open a book and read about the subject. But like I say, those comments are in the minority. We're looking and talking to our academic staff to see their position on this and how this should be rolled out. And again, it rolls from one end of the spectrum to the other. I don't want any of my lectures captured, or I'm happy for all of my lectures to be captured. We know there are specific disciplines at the university who may struggle with content being captured. School of Chinese Studies, law, just to name a couple that would struggle with just being ubiquitous capture no matter what. And then we have how we would deal with the actual capture, whether The ultimate sanction is that the member of academic staff wanders into the room, presses the start button when they want it to start, presses the start button when they want it to stop. Ultimate sanction, you can either start it or you can't, you don't. Other feedback we're getting from academic staff is they don't even want to be bothered with that. What they want to do is they want to walk into the room, and on the hour they want it to start, and at 10 to the hour they want it to stop. We have a problem with that in our data for our timetabling. It's not accurate enough, being kind to the data, to allow that to happen. Problems on data retention. So again, we're getting feedback from our academic staff that says that the content has to be available for the duration of the programme, whether that's 3, 4 or 5 years. And other members of academic staff saying, no, I want to delete it after 12 to 18 months because I'm going to be, the concern is I will be replaced by my series of lecture captures and my job will go. What is captured in a lecture capture, whether it's just presentation and audio or whether it's presentation, video of the presenter and the audio obviously. That out of the survey comes back as being the preferred method by students. We capture everything, we capture the video, we capture the presentation. But again, from academic staff, we're getting completely opposing viewpoints. So, we're looking forward to an interesting project over the next few months because we're looking to roll out this ubiquitous lecture capture by the start of academic year 2015, September, October this year. This is going to be fun. But we're also looking forward to cloud-based solutions, fully automated systems, as I've already said, accessibility issues of subtitling and closed capture, camera angles that at the moment don't aid anybody in lip reading if you have a problem, audio description of demos and things like that, whether those can be sort of incorporated into lecture capture. And I've sort of already alluded to the mirrored video storage and delivery across our campuses. Like I say, fairly sort of standard stuff that you're probably doing yourself, but I would like this to sort of generate some questions and some conversations through the day if we could, because I'd like to find out what you're doing, and I'm quite happy to talk about in detail about what we're doing.
Great, thank you very much, Ian.